Wednesday, January 22nd, and this is the 1909 State News' weekly podcast featuring our reporters talking about the news. I'm your host, Alex Walters. This week, students are back to campus, back to classes, and so we're going to hear a little bit about some news that you might have missed while you were home for break, and then a little bit about something new that you can expect being back on campus. And here to tell us all about it is one of our reporters, DeMonte Thomas. It's great to have you on the show.
Thanks for having me, Alex. Appreciate it.
Yeah, you were actually working over break, unlike many of us, so thank you for that, covering the news that came up, and you've been working this week. So we're hoping you can give students a little bit of, what they missed and what they can expect.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to start with kind of a downer, not a fun story. People hate when dogs die, and this is an example of that.
Yes.
Tell us about, a familiar dog face around campus people might not be seeing anymore coming back from break.
Yes. MSU Department of Police and Public Safety posted on social media that their canine therapy dog, River, who's very popular around campus, unfortunately passed away from a form of terminal cancer. They spoke about how, River's presence on campus, just kind of made it easier for students who, were, simply just going through like a bad day, or, they were just looking forward to just seeing River.
Because can you clarify, this wasn't a police dog, right, in the traditional sense of, sniffing bombs or dead bodies or whatnot.
Yes.
It was just sort of like a dog they would trot around for what reason? Yes.
So River, he was a special canine dog. As you mentioned, he wasn't a canine, canine police dog who would sniff bombs or whatnot, but he was more of a comfort canine. If there were days in which there were events where therapy dogs would be present, 9.9 times out of 10, River will always be there.
I mean, this dog was super visible. I remember seeing this thing at every event, participation, different stuff like that, kind of student fairs, and just around campus day to day. I think a lot of people interacted with it. And, not to editorialize, but, I think I'm being objective in saying the dog was adorable.
Yes.
This is a great dog.
Yes.
I didn't know dogs could get cancer.
Yes. So according to MSU DPPS, and apologies to our viewers as I try to pronounce the name of the terminal cancer, but they said River, he passed away after a brief battle of hemangiosarcoma, which is a very aggressive form of terminal cancer. One student I spoke to, she expressed her sadness about learning about River's passing, and acknowledged that there was the event scheduled for River's appearance, but he wasn't there. And
she was expecting to see him.
Yes, she was expecting to see him, and he was not there. So I believe this was around the time where he started receiving his care from the MSU Animal Hospital. But the post itself went further into, thanking his handler, Lieutenant Cam, apologies again, Lieutenant Cam Parvian, just thanking her for her just love and support that she gave River.
This was the officer that was responsible for kind of trotting the dog around.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
Well, what a tough start to break news. That dog, people hate that.
Yes.
What about lighting things up? Also over break, you covered kind of the opposite of an adorable dog dying.
Oh, yeah.
Someone getting a medal.
Yes. Yes.
A couple of MSU's own, including MSU's former interim president, went to Washington, D.C. to receive presidential medals. Tell me about Teresa Woodruff's medal.
Yes, so former interim president Teresa Woodruff, over break, she was among 13 recipients of the National Medal of Science, which is awarded to those deserving of recognition for their contributions to science, during a ceremony in Washington, D.C. On January 3rd. Now, this is not her first presidential award that she's receiving, or that she received, I should say. She received her first one that was awarded the Presidential Award for Excellence in Science, Mathematics, and Engineering Mentoring by then President Barack Obama in an Oval Office ceremony back in 2011.
And that seems sort of extraordinary to receive multiple of these presidential medals.
Oh, yes.
It's a big accomplishment.
Yes, yes. The award itself, as I just explained, it goes out to those who are really deserving for it. Woodruff, she was recognized for her, scientific strides she made back in Northwestern University during her time there.
Can you talk a little bit more about this research that she actually did? I think people call it oncofertility, like is the field.
Yes. Oncofertility, it's a medical field that Woodrow herself created that combines oncology and reproductive health. And pretty much with her research, it has, in the words of a current MSU president, Kevin Gutzwicks, given thousands of patients and their families hope for a better future. So the research itself, it saved tons of lives.
Well, and I think just allowed a lot of people to conceive children post-cancer when
Yes.
previously that wasn't well studied.
Yes.
And it's interesting too with Woodruff because like around here, especially here at the paper, the way that we write about her as an administrator, I mean she's a controversial figure. Like the
Yes.
whole scandal with Sanjay Gupta and the way that she handled that really like pitted people against each other. And then this ensuing very expensive investigation from Quinn Emanuel, she was opposed to it. The board really wanted it, and the findings were sort of like a conclusive summary of what happened, but still left it open to interpretation for like whether or not her decision was justified. Different people feel different ways. She's here through the shooting. She's here through Mel Tucker. She comes in after all the drama with Stanley. And of course, she's written about at length in Miller Chevalier's report about this bullying from the board and the board trying to coordinate these attacks against her with students. And so it's like she's the subject of so much controversy and just like kind of drama and talk as an administrator at MSU. And so it's kind of funny now that like she's back in the lab, immediately another one of these presidential medals, and like is back to sort of being, I think, undisputedly like a very gifted researcher and scientist. It's so much less complicated than this legacy that she's left as an administrator. So it was a kind of an interesting reminder of that so soon after she left the president's office.
Oh, yes, yes.
Tell me about, too, not just former MSU interim president Woodruff got a medal, but a very prominent MSU alumni was also honored.
Yes, so Irvin, who goes by Magic Johnson, he, among 19 recipients at a ceremony held at the White House, received the Presidential Medal of Freedom, which is, to our viewers who may not know what that is, the nation's highest civilian honor. It was awarded by now former President, U.S. President Joe Biden. And, Johnson, he is a legend here at Michigan State. He played from 1977 all the way up to 1979. And within that same year, he got drafted by the Los Angeles Lakers. And
that was the national championship team.
Oh, yes, yes. He led MSU to, great heights, and he led the LA Lakers to even greater heights. So he made his strides within the world of sports, but after retiring, he gained more of a prominent voice with his entrepreneurship, the Magic Johnson Foundation, him giving back to his community, including Lansing, where he's born and raised, and just giving out a bunch of scholarships and just really overall just giving back to the community that supported him through and through. So,
yeah.
Yes.
And we should mention, too, as you note in your story, not maybe necessarily directly tied to MSU, but also George Romney, former Michigan governor, also received one of these medals. Someone who, if you go back through the archives, was written about many times in the pages of State News when he was the governor.
Yes.
Especially back in the day when State News was sort of doing more capital coverage. So.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, look at that. MSU in D.C., talk of the town. Okay, let's go back to East Lansing, and let's stop talking about what happened over break and get into what's going on right now. Students returning to campus. They're fighting the cold, obviously, as we both experienced today. But also sort of a new offering on campus, the Multicultural Center. It's fine. I mean, it was under construction for a long time in a very visible place. So I'm sure we've all seen it walking by it and whatnot. But now it's open. You can go in there. Tell me a little bit about, let's go through the history of the building, too. Just like, so many years of activism towards getting it, finally getting approved a couple years ago and then being built. But now, tell me about if a student wants to go there, what can they expect? When should they go? How should they, best enjoy the space? And, you actually heard a little bit from the MSU, from the current president, about what he's hoping for with the space.
Yes. So, for those who are not familiar with the Multicultural Center, it is a building that has been advocated for literal decades. Present, MSU, the Spartans, they advocated for this building for as long as they have. Particularly the Black Student Alliance. You have groups like OCAT, and a bunch of other groups just asking MSU, like, hey, we would like a building to where it not only represents one community, but represents everyone at MSU. And, it took a bunch of years in construction this past couple of years. But now the Multicultural Center is open. And the building itself, it houses study rooms. It's primarily just open to anyone who would like to use it. Not in any sense, but if you want to go there to study, you can. If you have a student organization and would like to hold meetings there, you can do just that.
Because part of it, I think I remember right, was that some of these kind of shared affinity student groups, they wanted like a dedicated space where like the BSA, for example, could have their meetings. But you're saying that in addition to being a meeting space, students can also just go and just hang out and study and have a nice time.
Yes. I personally went inside the building, and it's absolutely beautiful.
Tell me more about what's it like inside. What did you do?
Yes. So the building itself, it's 2 stories high. I'm just going to kind of compare it to the College of Business building.
The new Minskoff Pavilion?
Yes.
Similar with like all the glass and everything?
Oh, yes. The glass, the staircase where you can actually sit on it. It has outlets embedded within.
Oh, does it have one of those staircases too?
Yes.
That's a nice spot for studying.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I briefly sat there, just, worked, just really observing and all of the beauty that is that building. Not only just observing in the beauty of the building, but just really recognizing that this is a building. Though most people see it as a building, it's something that has been advocated for decades, and it's part of MSU's fight to making sure the university is diverse for everyone. Which brings me to Martin Luther King Day. Yesterday, I covered the annual commemorative Martin Luther King Day march. The event itself, yes, it was held within the IM East gym because it was negative cold outside, like negative degrees
really
weather, like it is today. But the event was hosted by the MLK Day Planning Committee and the MSU Divine Nine National Penn Hellenic Council. And the whole purpose of this ceremony was to honor the life and legacy that was Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., which I'm not sure if most of our students know, but he came by MSU. He visited MSU back on February 11th, 1965. He spoke to a room filled with more than 4,000 students and residents. That was set to, kind of kick off the university's fundraising drive for the all university student government sponsored student education program. It's a mouthful, or otherwise known as STEP. But MSU leadership, like President Gus Wicks and the Vice President and Chief Diversity Officer Jabbar Bennett was present. They both spoke. And within, Gus Wicks' speech, he spoke about, just the honor and legacy of the work that Dr. King has done, which kind of led to more things just happening within MSU, like the Multicultural Center or the AAAS, or I should say African American Studies and African Studies program. Just spoke about how the work that Dr. King has done, it can be work that, Spartans everywhere can continue doing, and which comes back a full circle to the Multicultural Center.
He was saying that's a part of that is the opening of this finally.
Yes, and though the building is opened, there will be a grand opening ceremony held in February. I believe February 9th. I don't want to speculate, but it will be within the first few weeks of February, according to Gus Wicks and according to MSU. But
But it is that's like the kind of grand opening party. But right now, you can go in there. It's open.
yes,
I see.
yes. As of right now, students everywhere, they're more than happy to go inside the building. It's
Yeah.
fully opened, but come February, there will be a ceremony just officially opening the Multicultural Center. So,
That's great. Well, DeMonte, thanks for coming on the show, telling us what we missed over break and something to check out now that we're back on campus.
yeah, thank you.
Yeah,
Alex.
so that's all for now. We'll be back next week with fresh reporting from the great minds here at the State News. Until then, the stories we talked about today and plenty more are all available at statenews.com. Thanks to DeMonte, I guess, our podcast coordinator, Taylor, but most of all, thank you for listening. For the 1909, I'm Alex Walters.